Could you tell me a little bit about the practice the way it is right now with you at Imagine Health, and what you envision seeing happen with the practice as it evolves?
My practice or everyone's practice?
The entire practice of Imagine Health, and your practice is a primary part, but you know, everybody that's here too, or is coming.
I imagine it moving even further away from the Western medical model. I know I don't practice very well within the Western medical model. I would say I have much more holistic practice, and I think that's, especially with all the change in healthcare, there's going to be more emphasis on wellness and prevention and spiritual evolution. And that's what I'm really interested in.
Do you find more people, let's take this back to when you were doing your co-counseling type thing way back, and now you fast forwarded to where we are now. Do you see a real change in the client population as far as what they're looking for? Instead of like a pure Western answer, you know, yes, my arm's broken, to a person that comes to you basically and says, I'm looking to explore not the dark side, but the area that really no one really talks about. So the alternative complementary medicine type area. So do you see that more from your clients now?
I'd say I see it from my clients, but I'm not sure the other therapists see it for their clients.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of what happens is I personally, like each one of us, I create my own field that
Mm-hmm.
people resonate with. And so people find me. They feel called to work with me. They pick me out of the yellow pages or the website. It's kind of a mysterious attraction. But I work with a lot of people that know they want to work with me, as opposed to just, in the beginning, I think I worked with more clients that were a little random about why they wanted to be in counseling, because I don't think I was as clear with what I know I wasn't, with what I did and what I could offer. And so my clientele, I think, is perhaps different just because people are drawn to me that want to work a certain way, and because I really think I set an emotional field in my office space that this is a safe place to do really deep work.
Right.
That people come here and they do really deep work. Mm-hmm. And people come here often who have worked with a lot of other therapists, but somehow they feel called to do another piece of work, and they end up here and they're able to do something really profound that they were ready to do. And sometimes, unfortunately, it seems like a lot of times able to do something here that they really weren't able to do in lots of other therapy over the years.
Understood. Now I'd like to digress a little bit now. On a personal basis, there is a person in Brazil that is pretty well known, named John of God. And I know that you have a personal affinity towards that area. And so I would like to talk about that a little bit if I could, and sort of tell me how you got into that area and how you decide to make the pilgrimages, sort of,
Yes.
and what has evolved out of that.
Okay. Dear to my heart.
Yes.
Yes. Probably 10 years ago, I was first introduced to John of God, because a number of people in the valley have gone. They were going in like 2002, 2003, friends of mine, people I knew. And at that point, somehow, I couldn't imagine quite going. It just seemed really expensive and far
Right.
away. But I sent my picture down with some friends, and that's what you can do. Your picture is then presented to John of God. Is a medium. It means that he has beings that work through him.
Correct.
So he's kind of like Edgar Casey was called the sleeping prophet. He checked out and other beings came in. John of God is like that, only he's not sleeping. He's very animated, but you can tell when the beings come in and John of God, the man is
Right.
really gone. So the process of taking a photograph is that someone who's in the line and passing by John of God and the entities can present your picture, and they can give you herbs to take, which is a way to stay connected with the entities. They can X your picture and say, you need to come down. You've got some work that you need to do. And so I sent my picture with the agreement that if they X'd it, I'd go down. But they didn't X it, and I kind of felt left out, like, oh, well, they don't want me, you know?
Okay.
And so I had two really close friends that went down like 4 or 5 times.
Wow.
And I didn't send my picture down again. But at a certain point I just then felt really called, like, I need to go.
So what, if I can ask, because there's a lot of people that will not even know about John of God and how he
Right.
operates, what was the main calling that you felt attracted to in the beginning as you started to hear about John of God?
Well, maybe part of it was as a cancer survivor. Not that I usually identify with that, but having my own little journey, and you might say initiation,
Yes.
with cancer, the thought of being able to go someplace where there was this amazing healing happening. And I'd had enough by then with cancer of the Western medical system.
Right.
I really didn't like it. I didn't agree with it. And so that was attractive. And I guess it was 2010 when I had kind of another scare around that I said, I am going to see John of God. But here's a person who, I figure he's late 60s, mid 70s. It's hard to tell. No one will tell you his age. I think a lot of people don't know. And they're a little scared in Abadiânia, Brazil, to know, because there's this whole infrastructure that's grown
Built
up.
around him.
Right.
The castle, the town.
Right, that would not really probably exist very well indefinitely
Agreed.
without him. But he is this very humble man who, when he was 17, had an experience. It's a wonderful story, and I won't go into it.
He studied under, did he study under Castanedas or something?
No.
Okay, did he study under another person?
He studied within a system of Spiritism, which is the second largest religion in Brazil.
Okay.
And basically it's kind of Catholicism with mediumship,
Okay.
with this ability to have entities come in. And so in Spiritism, people really study how to be mediums, and I guess that's the distinguishing factor for me.
Okay.
But he was, when he was discovered as this phenomenal medium, just inadvertently,
Right.
he was taken in and trained. But he then was sort of persecuted all over Brazil, because he'd go into a town, he'd do these massive healings for people. The doctors would run him out of town, and he'd go somewhere else and do these massive healings. He really is, what happens through him, the beings that work through him do this amazing healing. He was asked to go to, I believe, Peru, where they had a cholera outbreak, and he healed 16,000 people in this 1 week that he was there. People just sort of pouring past him. And when I say he, that's really a misnomer. He's really clear he does not heal. He says God heals, and God working through these beings heal, that he has really nothing to do except he's the channel.
Right.
It's a very humble man. And I think that that's really important for that distinction. This man does, he works 3 days a week, giving away his services. He never takes any money for this.
There's a whole story on John of God and the town, et cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera. So we'll come back to that a little bit later. But